You are now watching The Lone Blown. Blown! Yo, what's poppin', people? You are back here at The Lone Blown. Thank you so much for wasting your day with me right here. And I mean, hopefully it's not too wasteful. We're doing this deck profile, then we're going to do a playthrough of Eternatus VMAX. Eternatus VMAX, one of the coolest cards coming out in Darkness Ablaze, giving us a little hint of Mega Rayquaza mixed with its stadium of choice, Skyfield, to come up with the Infinity Zone ability. And we got Dread End doing 30 times the amount of dark Pokemon you have in play, allowing you to have up to 8 dark Pokemon on your bench. That ability and attack are a run-on sentence, but at the end of the day, this is one of the most basic, brutally damaging Pokemon in ever, period with a T dot at the end. It's insane. I arguably think that this lowers the skill cap of the game a little bit when it comes to playing this deck, not necessarily when it comes to building this deck, because building this deck has me confused from all different angles. It's right now, this is a very basic list. This list is subject to change 100 times over. I think of new techs every time I build this deck. The goal is to get a bunch of Pokemon in play and attack with Dread End as soon as possible on the second turn of the game. Now, there's things that can hold this deck back, such as energy denial or just general counters, things like that. I mean, if it's going to be one of the most hyped up cards of all time, it's going to be a countered card of all time. Eternatus V is great because you could use Power Excel 30 and then power up a Pokemon on your bench with a Dark Energy. I don't really think Dynamax Cannon's going to see play in this deck, considering we are not playing a Weavile variant. Crobat V is going to allow us to drop till 6 once during our turn, so that's a great, just a great dark fodder to have on our bench. We do have Zigzagoon as well, doing extra damage. I mean, again, another free fodder that we could have on our bench. Absol is great because we can stop our opponent from retreating. In this list, we can give them additional 2 retreats. If they don't have the switch or anything like that, we can keep them stuck for a turn. Yveltal-GX is the absolute spice, because we could use Doom Count GX by using Zigzagoon, Scoop Up Net, whatever. Whichever capacity you want to use between Zigzagoon, Scoop Up Net, or any kind of damage you've done. Doom Count GX, if they have 4 damage counters on them, you could hit them for a knockout. Dark City is an interesting stadium in this deck. From playing this deck a few times, not entirely sure how I feel about Dark City, because basic dark Pokemon in play, so basic Pokemon does not constitute Eternatus VMAX. They have no retreat cost. But for everything else in the deck, you can retreat, so it's difficult. I think I am filming this portion of the deck profile after playing the game. So in the game, I did have some issues with some Dark City Switch type things where it's like I had some Pokemon stuck in the active spot for a while. So that's something to consider. Professor's Research, I think, is a no-brainer in most decks. As with Marnie, this deck could play a few other cards, such as Peers, or it could be a little bit less on the supporter department, considering it does play 4 copies of Crobat V, but that is to be decided. You can't play Dedenne GX in this deck. You cannot play Jirachi in this deck because of Infinity Zone's rules of only having dark Pokemon in play. I think Boss Orders is great, especially if you have an attack that's swinging for 270. You can knock out almost any Pokemon in the game. Eternatus VMAX can just bring up whatever. Got Erika's Hospitality. I mean, I think this is a cool card for mirror matches because you could really draw a bunch of cards on your opponent, up to 9 if you keep your hand relatively low. Quick Ball, we want to search out basic Pokemon, just because this deck needs basic Pokemon on the bench, or I mean dark Pokemon, but most of the Pokemon in this deck are basic. We got Great Ball. If you're doing a quick count, we have 16, 18, 19 Pokemon in this deck. Great Ball should be getting a hit every single time. So we don't really have a direct way to search out Eternatus VMAX, but the 4 copies makes it really easy to grab with Great Ball or naturally draw into, and Great Ball allows us to fill up our bench nicely. Scoop Up Net is to abuse and reuse Zigzagoon with. It also works as a way to get Zigzagoon and Absol out of the active spot. If I decide to not go with Zigzagoon, obviously Scoop Up Net would be one of the first cards to go. Playing 2 copies of Switch for me is a little bit weird, but we do have 4 copies of Scoop Up Net. We do have 2 copies of Dark City. So, I mean, overall, we kind of have 8 retreating cards. Like I said, in the game that I played, I did have Eternatus VMAX stranded in the active spot for a second, because Scoop Up Net would not work with it, and Dark City would not work with Eternatus VMAX, so that left us only with our 2 copies of Switch. Depending on prizing or even just having to discard things with Professor's research, that might be a deckless error or a judgmental error on my behalf to not include more. So I'll have to test this deck a little bit more. I might do another deck profile in the future or deck profiles where I profile a bunch of the top decks that I'm considering playing at the Atlas Pog. So we'll have to see how that goes. Reset Stamp seems really strong here. You could just reset stamp your opponent and then go 270, 270 and steal games. I like that. This deck follows with my rule of Dragapult VMAX. If Dragapult VMAX can get away with 10-ish energies between energies and energy spinners, I think this deck can get away with 10. The same exact energy costs, and we can really fill out our bench pretty easily. We have 6 darks, and that's just so that we have enough to attack with. I haven't really used Power Excel on Eternatus V too often, but it is an option. And we do have Capture Energy as well. Capture Energy, since it's dark, colorless, it allows us to grab another basic Pokemon. So this deck is very basic focused on getting out our basic Pokemon so that we are ready to go with Infinity Zone. Maybe Capture Energy could be reduced to 3 and it goes up to Dark 7, but that's probably just more of a personal preference with nothing really backing it. There's other versions of this deck that include Weavile from Ultra Prism. There's ones that include Yveltal-GX to move energies around. I've seen lists that play Obstagoon to do more damage counters and have the option to use Obstruct, Black Market Prism Star, Bellaba and Bryson Man. I've seen a whole slew of decks, and we did cover this deck on our channel before, but that was for Team Up to Darkness Ablaze. This is for the Atlas Pog 2020 Championships. And that is this is for the upcoming format of what we have. So this format's only valid for like a week or two, but that's what our Worlds like tournament is going to be held in. So feel free to check out the other one. I mean, it will show you exactly if there's any differences. Maybe we'll give you some inspiration. Maybe you're not playing in the Atlas 2020 Pog because you are going on vacation or staycation due to the pandemic. However it works, tune around the channel, subscribe for more action, and let's jump into where I actually play against my pal Mike Gibbs there. So let's see exactly what we got going on. Okay, so we're starting off the game between me and my pal Mike Gibbs. I'm going to be the one who's playing Eternatus, and he's going to be the one who's playing Centiskorch. Now, this is me redubbing over after the fact. I'm going to say I'm not entirely the most proud of how I've started off this game. So I'm like, oh, you want to what? Let's get some Absols in there in case we could lock that Eternatus into play, attach an energy, and then we're going to switch it over to Mike's side. Honestly, that's probably my biggest mistake that I've made in this entire game, because I forgot that Centiskorch can actually just gobble up my energies, so it's something I gotta worry about big time. So Mike's just like, yep, I'm going to use double quick ball, go through his deck, grab some stuff. There's a Centiskorch. There's a Crobat. He's going to draw some cards. We see that he has a full hand. Got an extra fire energy onto that Centiskorch V. And then he's just going to go ahead, discard his energy, discard my energy. The difference between our decks is I need to attack 2 energies. I have no way of accelerating energies, so he basically wasted my entire first turn. Here, I'm just like, yo, okay, I've learned from my mistake. And you wanna know what? I actually did not learn from my mistake. I'm realizing that I was like, oh, I'll just get like a switch card or something like that. I probably should have attached it to the benched one, realizing that a switch card probably doesn't matter. But I didn't want to just leave out like an Eternatus V or VMAX. So I'm like, whatever, this sucks. Not much else that I could do. But we do have access to Crobat in this matchup, so whatever. Let's go ahead and thin out our hand. Let's try to make this all happen. And I'm like, awesome. So I'm just double checking Dark City there. I'm like, Mike just needs to remove my energy again. I mean, it is kind of slowing him down. One thing to note is I did forget to put the 20 damage on to the Eternatus V, and I do add that on as he's doing his attack. He's just like, okay, cool. So you can see that the 40 damage is there, so we did count that in. And I'm like, holy moly, how am I supposed to ever get past this situation where it's I've lost my energies, I just really don't have much going on. So I'm just like, screw it. I can't really do too much else. Let's try to get him to a point where I can attack with Yveltal-GX, maybe getting a knockout on that Pokemon. See, I have the Yveltal-GX. I'm like, how is this going to work? Let's go ahead and play Professor's Research. So we got another Dark Energy. Have no way to switch again. Again, the biggest theme of this match is I could not switch out of the active spot. And I'm just attaching to the Eternatus V. Mike is just playing absolutely saucy right now, bringing up my Eternatus VMAX on the bench and taking away another energy from it. He doesn't even have to play Centiskorch normally. He just needs to isolate my energies. I don't have anything saucy like Darkrai Prism Star and Yveltal-GX. I don't have any of that stuff going on. So it's one of those things where he really took advantage of what my list could do. Really, really intelligent playing on his behalf. And I'm just like, okay, how am I ever going to get to this point of where I can attack? I just want to build up the Yveltal at this point. Shuffle that up. No switching cards. Absolutely dead hand off Marnie. And this is basically where the game ends for me. Mike's just like, okay, cool. Who cares about a single energy on an Yveltal-GX? Let's get out the sauce. Let's make sure that everything works. He's going to play the Pokegear. Look at the top 7. Grab a Welder. Shuffle his deck. Play the Welder. Attach a couple energies. And then I believe he turns himself into a Centiskorch VMAX. Okay, so he's just healing to take off the 40 damage. Because it doesn't matter here about the 2-shot. And then I take a decent bit of damage there. And it's back to my turn. At this point, I'm just like, I'm absolutely devastated. I top-decked another Capture Energy. It's a gigantic yikes. I might as well just attach an energy and pass. Mike's like, okay, cool. This is literally easy streets. He doesn't really need much. He's just going to grab out Fire Energies. And I was explaining him that he could get a Fire Energy from his discard pile and attach it to the Centiskorch V Max. So there's a Wondrous Lab, just setting me back again in case I needed anything else. So in terms of energy management, he's totally got it. He's drawn 3 prize cards, or will draw 3 prize cards. And I'm just like, okay, cool. I can't attack with anything unless it's Yveltal. There's no damage on there. So he healed because of the Yveltal-GX. I'm just like, yo, whatever. He's just building up another Centiskorch VMAX in case anything happens. And you can see he's accidentally attached the energies to the Pokemon. Or maybe I did that. One of us did that. And there's the knockout there. He's a boss order away from winning the game. At this point, I'm like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 energies plus the base 40. So that's 280. I got some damage on me. Is it worthwhile? Like, can he get around? And at this point, Mike just has the energy to win. Well, if that's not a game that I wish I could do over a little bit, I wish I could. But I'm here to show you the good and the bad side of Pokemon when it comes down to just playing. I probably shouldn't. I mean, I'll take that back. I definitely shouldn't have attached energies directly to the active when I knew that as soon as I found out that I was playing against Centiskorch V, Mike did a great job of targeting my Pokemon over and over to the point where I was just getting picked at. He was like a gigantic bird and I'm like a little worm just dangling there. No ground to return to. I knew it was over about halfway through that game or within the first few turns. But you want to know what? That's exactly what can happen. We were playing a very consistent deck. We're playing a very linear list. So when things are not going our way, things cannot go our way, and that's possible. So maybe it's time to bring this deck back to the drawing board for a future video to showcase to you all. Shout out to Mike for helping me out with that video. Really appreciate it. And we'll see exactly what we got going on in the channel in the future. Stay tuned, subscribe, learn exactly what we got going on. Really hope that you enjoyed watching that video. I totally enjoyed making it. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like the video, share the video with everyone that you know, and subscribe to the channel as well. Totally appreciate all the support. We got a lot of cool things happening on the channel, so stay tuned for more. Be sure to check out the social links in the description. Thanks and have yourself a great one.